Greeting viewers. Columbia Global Centers, Nairobi, warmly welcomes both our local and global audience to a continuation of our Emotional Intelligence series. In the first session, we learned that emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, direct, and positively express emotions. It's a powerful skill that can help individuals better understand themselves, overcome challenges, and build strong relationships with others throughout their lives. People with high emotional intelligence tend to tolerate and manage strong feelings like sadness, anger, and fear. Today, we will be continuing with this series, and our subtopic will be on self-awareness. This session will be presented to you by Columbia Global Centers, Nairobi, in partnership with Albert Migowa. Albert is a trained counseling psychologist and an emotional intelligence coach. As a psychologist, he is able to understand the emotions and feelings of people and thereby able to communicate effectively. He will be moderating our session today. Columbia Global Centers Nairobi is part of 9 regional hubs positioned around the world by Columbia University. The centers serve as platforms for dialogue and the exchange of knowledge in research, education, as well as public programming. Our speaker today is Anne Mohinja. Anne is a professional counseling psychologist and applies the person-centered and cognitive behavioral models in her therapies. Other than being on the forefront on matters mental health, Anne is an advocate in gender and advocacy and equality. She is the focal person for the SGBV and MHPSS at the Kenya Red Cross, Nairobi County. Anne also works closely with the Nairobi Metropolitan Services. She has also been a trauma counselor for Kenya Red Cross Society for the past 6 years and is always called upon whenever and wherever a disaster is and has happened. Anne has a specialty on psychological first aid and community-based psychosocial support. We will be posting these bios in the chat area for your review. Before we get started, kindly note that today's program is being recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. Kindly subscribe to our channel so that you can be able to review these programs and also share with your networks. And as we proceed, please remember to keep posting your questions or comments pertaining to our session here today under the Q&A section. Also remember to follow us on social media so that you can stay updated with all our upcoming programs. We will be posting our social media handles in the chat section. I would now like to welcome Albert to continue from here. Welcome, Albert.
Oh, thank you so very much, Pauline. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, from whichever part of the world you are tuning in from. Welcome once again. Happy New Year. I hope it's not too late to say that. Welcome to this session in emotional intelligence. And today we'll be talking about a very critical element of emotional intelligence, and that is self-awareness. In the local language in Kenya, we'll say kujijua na kujielewa, understanding yourself. And the truth of the matter is, nothing can ever come to be if you don't understand yourself. You must know who you be. You must know your strengths. You must know your weaknesses. And for me, that's a fundamental point that we need to know as we move forward to be more successful and thereby more emotionally intelligent. Now, for today's session, we're going to have a very well-experienced speaker by the name of Anne Mohinja, who will take us through aspects of self-awareness. I'd just like to give some basic ground rules. As was mentioned, in case of maybe any question in between, kindly raise your hand. As the presentation is going on and as one is speaking, kindly have your mic on mute. And our session will be structured in the following way. We'll have about 40 minutes of presentation and then a 20-minute Q&A. So now, without much ado, let's give a warm, rousing welcome to Anne Muhinja. Anne, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Albert. And we start our session, and our session is on self-awareness. And as we all know, self-awareness is one of the life skills which are very essential for us as human beings as we grow and as we deal with the daily challenges. So before I even go to self-awareness, I would like us to look at what is life skills. Just a moment. There we are. This is a life skill. And as we can all see also, life skills are abilities which we use so that we can adapt and maybe enable us as human beings to deal effectively with the demands of and the challenges of life. And when it comes to life skills, it means that you cannot survive as a human being without the life skills, because in one way or the other, you will have to at least have that skill which will help you deal with whatever it is you face in your day-to-day life. And as part of the life skill, we are going to look at the self-awareness skill. And I would like us to take a very short exercise so that maybe we can get to know, or maybe for you to get to know whether you know who is, or how do you tell whether you are self-aware or you are not self-aware. So I don't know whether we are in a position to get maybe a pen and a paper, or maybe you can use your phone and maybe write down for me who you are, who you think you are. As far as self-awareness is concerned, who do you think you are? Maybe we can write that in our chat bot, and Albert can assist in that. Maybe we can give ourselves like 2 minutes. Think of who you are, and then you write it down, and maybe we can go through that in a short while. What is self-awareness? As far as you can tell, who do you think you are? Maybe Albert, you can take the first 3 answers.
I'm not able to see any response as of now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Maybe we can ask them to maybe share aloud.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
so
I've seen one.
Mm-hmm.
There's Sarafina Sironka. She said,
Mm-hmm.
She says, I am a world change.
Mm-hmm. You can as well raise up your hand, and Albert will assist in that. Somebody is saying that they are introverted dog daddy.
Dog dad, yes.
Yes, I'm a woman with vision.
Yes. I'm an individual who is slowly growing.
Mm-hmm.
There's one, Sarifa, I'm a cat lover. Let's keep them coming in. Let's keep them coming. Let's keep them coming.
Yes, and even as we keep them coming, look at what I've just presented up here. What is self-awareness? You can see there is that young girl, young lady. She's holding something. She's kind of straining to look at maybe herself or something. I don't know whether we are able to tell what that is.
So some other upcoming responses from Grace Minor, I'm an introvert. Nika Kedge, I'm a child of God. Sarah Muigai, I'm a daughter of God. Cindy Makanga, I'm an optimist.
She's a?
She's an optimist.
So when you look at whatever I've shared on the screen, you can see this girl who is looking through the mirror and is really straining to really see herself and see exactly who she is. And in this other slide, you can see a bit of confusion. There are those road signs, so many of them. You don't know which one to follow. You don't know which one to pick, which one to leave. And with that, we come to the definition of self-awareness. And I'll give you quite a number of definitions of self-awareness. First, self-awareness is the ability to recognize and understand your moods, emotions, and drives, as well as their effects on others. What am I saying when I say this? When you say that you are self-aware, or you are able to recognize and even understand yourself, it means that it's not only you who is able to do that, even your colleagues are able to do that. If I may give an example, if today I took a piece of paper and I wrote down who I am, I write like 5 to 6 points of who I am. Maybe I'm principled, I'm very orderly, I'm very loyal, so many other things about myself. Is it possible for me to give it to that other person, and that other person will look at whatever I've presented and they'll be able to tell, this is Anne, or look at what has been written and be able to tell, this is Albert? The minute you are able to write about yourself and recognize about your own self, that means you are self-aware. You are aware of who you are. And when it comes to the awareness, it doesn't mean just knowing of who you are physically or maybe socially or anything like that. It's holistic. And that is why we are talking about your moods, your emotions, your drives, you know, and even how you relate with others, the interpersonal relationship, your moods. How do you behave when this and this happen? Do you become angry very fast? Do you shed tears very fast? What drives you? What makes you happy? That means you are aware of yourself. Another explanation to the same, similar, it's having a clear grasp on one's own values, needs, interests, goals, abilities, and purpose. Do you know your interests? Do you know what interests you? When you are told you need to have self-care, do you know what really consoles you as far as self-care is concerned? That is all about self-awareness. Also, self-awareness is the ability to accurately sense and identify personal feelings, along with the ability to understand and evaluate them. And this is where now you find even the emotional intelligence coming in, because it's all about your feelings. It's all about you having or being in a position to understand your feelings and even evaluating them, such that you are able to even tell a person, right now I'm feeling angry, right now I'm feeling mad, right now I'm feeling like, you know, anything, as long as you are able to tell, this is how I feel, and really get in touch with yourselves as far as now the feelings are concerned. And for that reason, self-awareness is an element of emotional intelligence. And it's the first step to becoming emotionally intelligent. And with this, you increase your level of self-awareness. What am I saying? The minute you say that you are emotionally intelligent and you don't have self-awareness, you really do not know exactly who you are, because the two goes hand in hand. You cannot have emotional intelligence and lack self-awareness. And we've said earlier, self-awareness is that aspect of knowing yourself holistically, as far as physical, social, emotional, spiritually is concerned. And I got to my next question. Then why do we need this self-awareness? Why does it matter? As you can see beside that, there is that picture. Very neatly put together. Maybe we can say, or maybe we can put down why we feel self-awareness is important or why it matters. One or two people can share.
Okay, Cindy Makanga says it enhances our relationship with others. Grace Maina, it reduces conflicts. Let's keep them coming. Let's keep them coming.
I like what they are sharing.
Tabi says it makes you know how to express yourself better. Sarah Muigai, it helps in realization of my goals. Eunice Samuel, through self-awareness, we will be able to respect other people's personal space.
That is wonderful. Let's have that for now. So when we have self-awareness, as you can see from that picture just beside me, there is that being intact, as in you've been able to put all the pieces together and say this is exactly who Anne is. Just imagine if I remove all these pieces and I try to join them the wrong side. Of course, they won't fit. Of course, they won't be uniform. When you look at them, you'll see confusion. And that person who is not self-aware is usually in that state, whereby you are not even able to join 1 + 1 and say it's 2. You feel so many emotions, you have so many feelings, and you cannot even tell where they are coming from. You find yourself changing in behavior. You find yourself maybe even getting into addiction. And when you're asked, oh, how come you are behaving this way, you cannot even tell. You cannot even tell when it started. But for a self-aware person, you find that this person is even able to tell, I started feeling this way when this and this happened. And this is the kind of a person you find that even if things are not tightly packed together, they're even able to tell, I'm in a mess. You know, you've heard so many people say that, I'm in a mess. And you are like, if you're in a mess, why not fix yourself? But that ability of knowing that I'm in a mess, it's what we are calling self-awareness. So self-awareness is being aware of our purpose in life, and it helps us in setting our goals. And since we know where we want to get, we find ways to do so. Goal setting, you are focused. You know where you want to go or what you want to get. And for that reason, you find yourself getting the ways to get there. If I may give an example, like I've talked about addiction. If you find that you are addicted today, you get the awareness that I have been addicted because I've been doing ABCD without stopping. I always get that compulsive behavior and I cannot even seem to stop it. What happens? You come up with a goal. What am I going to do about this? Maybe I'm going to see a counselor. Maybe I'm going to talk to a friend. And then if I'm going to talk to a friend or I'm going to talk to a counselor, how do I go about it? How will I be charged? Who is my support system? That person I'm going to talk to, am I very sure that I'm going to get the right thing from that person? So you become aware of your purpose in life and you are able to even set goals, because at the end of the day, you know that I'm not supposed to be addicted. On the other hand, you find that when you increase self-awareness, you lead to understanding and accepting oneself. Remember earlier on, we talked about the challenges and the demands of life. What happens when you get so many challenges in life? What happens when there is so much for you to do and you have very little to offer? With the self-awareness, you will be able to understand and accept. you understand that I need to do all this, but this is the much I can do, however little it is. And you get to accept that. And you get even comfortable. For instance, maybe out of your self-awareness, you've come to realize you have anger issues. You don't know how to manage your anger. Through self-awareness, you get to understand that. And you get to accept that I have anger issues. And the minute you come to accept that you have anger issues, that's the time now you'll even go out and even learn how to manage your anger. And you even learn how, as you manage your anger, which are the triggers. How do I go about the triggers? And with that, we say you are self-aware. Self-awareness also leads to better psychological health, since we can regulate and cope with our emotions, and we can as well attend to our needs. Psychological health. You know, when we talk of matters mental health, at times people feel like it's something which is very ambiguous. But let me tell you this. We all get stresses of life on a daily basis. We all get challenges, even before the day ends. We all get emotional, even before you get from your home to the stage to get a matatu. You'll have to come through some of these issues. And when you have self-awareness, you'll be able to regulate and cope with these emotions, the issues, and you'll be able to attend to them. And this is mostly dealt with in the aspect of positive self-talk, positive psychology, whereby you know that you cannot stay without the issues. You cannot stay with good mental health throughout. And for that reason, whatever happens, whatever emotions which comes, whatever stresses which come, you only need to give yourself that positive self-talk. And with that, you'll be able to move forward and even deal with the needs as they come. And then, as I said earlier, when we talk about self, we talk about self in different dimensions. As you can see here, we have the aspect of physical self, we have the cognitive self, we have emotional self, we have the social aspect, and we have the ethical aspect. And we have this, when we talk of the physical aspect, we talk of issues to do with the sleep, issues to do with the diet, nutrition, and we also talk about issues to do with the exercise. When we talk about cognitive, we are talking about your intellectual capabilities, your abilities, your knowledge, and all that. Emotional, it's about the emotions, it's about the feelings. The social aspect, it's about the relationships. How do you relate with other people? Are you able to relate? Are you able to make friends? Are you even able to maintain those friends? When we talk of ethical, it's about the value systems. What do you value most? What do you believe in? And then we go to the aspect of how do you now develop this self-awareness? Before we talk about how to develop self-awareness, I would like us to come to this widow. It's called the Johannes widow. And this is a widow which most of us knows about it. And it really helps us to know who exactly we are. And in most of the cases, this is one of the tools which is usually used so that you can get to know exactly who you are. In the Johannes widow, we have the open self. We have the blind self, we have the hidden self, and we have the unknown self. When we talk about the open self, this is the information about yourself that you and others know. Which is this information? For example, let's say Anne is principled. Anne is hands-on. And everybody in my circle knows that. That is the open self. And being principled and being hands-on is in the public domain. So many people knows about Anne. And then from there, we go to the hidden self. The hidden self is the information you know about yourself, but others don't know. This is the information which we always like keeping to ourselves. This is the information which we don't want other people to know. For example, I'll give an example with myself. When I was a child, I went through violence and I was sexually abused. And this information, I've kept it to myself up to date. And I've never shared with anyone. This is the hidden self. I know that information, but the others, even the people close to me, do not know about that information. And then next, we have the bride self. This is the information you know. This is the information you don't know, but others know about you. For example, if by any chance my supervisor knows that whenever I give Anne an assignment to do and I give a deadline, she's going to deliver as she has been told on that specific time, on that specific day. But Anne herself doesn't know about it. That is the bride self. My supervisor knows that if I have any assignment I need to give and it needs to be delivered immediately, give it to Anne. But Anne doesn't know. Anne gets that job and does it just as she has been told and delivers it on time. But she doesn't know that she's the kind of a person who delivers on time. That's a bride self. And then there is the unknown self. Before we go to the unknown self, I want to talk about the open self. If you look at this table, all of them are the same because I didn't do any gauging. But in the real sense, the open self is supposed to be bigger. This window for the open self is supposed to be bigger than any other window. So what are you supposed to do so that you can open yourself and put almost everything in the public domain? When it comes to the hidden self, this is the information you know about yourself and others don't know. I've talked of sexual violence. What am I supposed to do? Since I know that I've gone through sexual violence, I'm supposed to talk about it, to let other people know about it. Remember, I'm supposed to choose the kind of people I want to let into my own world. So be it a counselor, be it my significant others, be it somebody who is very close to me. But remember, the more I share of my hidden self, the less I'll have as a baggage. And the more I'll have in the open self, we do. And then we come to the bride self. This bride self is where others knows about me and me, I don't know. So what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to open myself so that I can get feedback. Allow yourself to get feedback from other people. You are given an assignment, you do it as the head wanted it to be done, and then that is it. But have you asked any question? At least try and give me feedback as far as this job is concerned. How have I done it? Have I submitted it on time? And this is the time your supervisor will come and tell you, by the way, Anne, one thing about you, whenever you are given an assignment to do, you deliver it on time. And the minute you get to hear that, you get another plus. You are like, okay, so Anne is so good with assignments. I deliver on time and I do it as I have been told. The minute I get that realization, The minute I'm given that feedback, whatever I've been told moves from the blind self to the open self. I even start telling people, by the way, when you give me an assignment, I'll do it very fast. I'm very good at that. Give me a deadline. I'm going to deliver before or even on that specific day as you have given it. And the more is shared to you about you, the more better it is for you, because with the time you will take it in the open self. So now that we are done with the three windows, we come now to the unknown self. This is the information which yourself and others don't know. Nobody who knows about it at all. As an individual, you are supposed to keep learning, getting new skills, getting new knowledge, so that you can get to learn and maybe to get to know yourself better. For example, if I may give an example with Albert, allow me, Albert, to use you. At time, maybe some years down the line, Albert didn't know that he's so good with emotional intelligence. He didn't know that he could even facilitate and make people understand so well. So this is something which was not known to Albert, and it was not even known to others. But with the time, Albert has gotten to know about it, has even shared it with other people, and has even doing presentations to people, meaning now you've moved the unknown self to the open self. What am I saying? For you to be self-aware, and for you to put your self-awareness in the public domain, you have to work on these three windows and make sure that at least most of the stuff is in the open self. Of course, you won't put all yourself in the public domain, but make sure that the open self window is much bigger compared to the others. When it comes to the unknown self, this one is supposed to be very small. The hidden self is supposed to be very small also, and also the bright self. But the big one should be the open self. The minute you have open self as the bigger window, it means you are very much aware of yourself and you are comfortable taking in whatever comes, however good or bad it is. So how do you develop your self-awareness? We talk of self-observation. You observe your behavior. How do you observe your behavior? And as you look at the photo on my left, you see that guy, he has taken a mirror and is literally observing what he is doing. How do you do that in our daily lives? How do you do that as a student? How do you do that in your working environment? And then you develop self-awareness by getting feedback from others and seeing oneself through the eyes of others. How do you take feedback? You know, when there is feedback giving, it can be positive or maybe area of development. Do you only accept feedback which is positive? And this other one, you are like, no, I don't want to hear about that. What do you go for? For me, both of them are equally good. And in fact, the area for development at times carries more weight, because this is the area you are supposed to work on for you to develop yourself very well. Introspection helps expose some current thoughts and feelings that are at a conscious level and helps us construct a coherent narrative about ourselves. As we were giving some feedback in the feedback session, I've realized that some of us, in fact, most of us, know who we are. We have developed self-awareness. Is it okay? Maybe you give like a sentence of how you came to know yourself, how you developed your self-awareness, because I'm imagining we've all gone through different areas of development. You can write down something just to tell us on how maybe you developed your self-awareness.
Let's keep the responses coming.
And even as we keep the responses coming, when you go through the self-awareness, you come to know exactly who you are. And by knowing exactly who you are, you come to know your personality type. In our previous slides, I remember somebody said that they're introverted. What is being introverted? What is being extroverted? Most of us.
There's some responses coming. So Nita Ket says through meditation practice.
Meditation.
Let's keep them coming. Well done. Let's keep them coming.
Yeah, let's keep them coming as we continue with the personality types.
Yes.
When it comes to the personality types, I was talking of the introverted and the extroverted. It's either you are an introvert or an extrovert. But then my question is that all? Is that all you need to know about your personality type? And here on the screen, you can see there are different types of personality types. And they're usually there is the choleric, melancholic, sanguine, and pragmatic. And you can only fit in these four. And you can only know whether you fit in either of the four by having or by doing the personality test. And once you get to do the personality test, you'll be able to know whether you are choleric, melancholic, or choleric, sanguine, or whichever side you are at. But the reason as to why you need to do your personality type test, it's so that you can know what kind of a person you are. You know whether you're able to relate with others. You know whether you are able to respect other people, whether you are calm, especially when exposed to different situations. And the minute you get to know who you are, that is now the self-awareness part. Now that I've known that I'm not patient, or I've known that I'm not calm, how do I go about it? Will I just remain there like I'm not calm and I'm comfortable with that? Or how do I help myself to be calm just like other people? Let's say like I learned that I'm very creative. What do I do with my creativity? You know, when I get to learn that I'm very good when it comes to relationships, I get to make friends very fast. I'm a people's person. I like helping others. What do I do with that? And this really comes in, especially when we want to do a bit of career guidance, especially for students, because it's believed that, or research has said that, your personality fits very well with the kind of career which you'd like to do in future. And then now we come to that person who has self-awareness, that person who doesn't have self-awareness. When you lack self-awareness, as you look at the picture on my left, when it comes to relationships, how do you behave? Are you able to relate with others? Of course, from what we can see, these are two men who are fighting. You cannot agree with others. Even if there are arguments, there are disagreements, there are what, the only way you can solve things out is by fighting. That is when it comes to relationships. And this can be seen even in the school setting, at the workplace, or even in the family setting. You are always fighting with your siblings. If it's in a relationship, a husband and wife, you are always fighting. And then when it comes to the mood, the next one is the mood. That person who lacks self-awareness is always down, always blaming him or herself, always feeling worry for himself, thinking that the world is coming to an end, I'm hopeless, I cannot do anything which will make people happy. And for that reason, you always look sad. You want even to remain alone. And for that reason, when we go to the other aspect of success, you don't become successful. In most of the time, you are just seated down in deep thought. As we say it, building castles, you know, thinking of so many things which will never yield any fruits. And on the other side, we have people who are self-aware. When it comes to relationships, you find that people who are self-aware are able to relate. They are able to keep friendships. They are open to feedback. They do not mind at all, even if you give negative feedback. Because for them, they take it as an area for development. I've been told that I get angry quickly. For the person who is self-aware, they look at that anger and know how to go about it so that it won't be an issue for them and for the friends. For that other person who is lacking self-awareness, they'll fight you. Who told you I have anger issues? What made you think that I have anger issues? They'll even start becoming abusive. Are you my mother? Are you my father to tell me that? And then when it comes to the mood, that person who is self-aware is always very happy, apprehensive, is always ready to take feedback, however way it comes. And the minute you become that person who is happy with whatever life brings, it means that even as we go to success, you are able to succeed. You are able to move from one level to the other. You can tell I started here and look at the many levels which I've made in life. And with that, we can say that self-awareness helps us to understand ourselves on how we relate with others, as we can see from the first law. It also helps us develop and implement a strong self-improvement plan and program. You are able to set goals. You are able to act on the goals. You are able even to set on and give yourself timelines. This is what I've planned to do. This is what I expect to have gotten by the time maybe 2 or 3 months down the line. And at the end of the day, you can even show somebody that this is what I've been able to do. And then lastly, it helps manage others effectively and increases one's ability to contribute to others. And that is where now we said that when you become self-aware, you find that you are even able to give to others. You are able to give others even feedback. You are able to share what you have. You are able to relate. Albert, any responses on the above? Developing the self-awareness?
Now, in response to how people have become more self-aware, we talked of meditation practice. There's also through personal development programs.
Through personal development programs?
That's Grace Maina. Then Sarafina Ironka says on her side, she hasn't achieved full development on her self-awareness. She's still in a process. She's still trying to, she finds it hard at times and confusing about who she is. Then Sharon Spence says that she's developed self-awareness through various methods, including actively thinking about her behavior, actions, failures, and accomplishments. She accredits her mother, her brother, and nieces and nephews who are great at pointing out areas that are positive and those which need to be changed. Nika Ketch says through feedback and word of God. Angela Migowa thanks the organizers and panelists for the session. Eunice Emmanuel, she learned that she's a visioned woman to the kind of struggles she has undergone in her journey of academia. Constant ridicule from friends made her realize the need to work hard and emerge the best.
So what I'm hearing from Eunice is that in a way, her motivation was extrinsic, and I've seen something else up there. Somebody saying that they are not able. Rose is saying that she would wish to be helped to understand herself. So, just as one of us has stated, self-awareness is a process. It cannot just happen, as in you sleep and then in the morning you wake up and you are self-aware. It takes time. And it's something which needs to be cultivated on, because you first have to have that feeling of, I really need to know who I am. You know, I as Anne, what is my purpose in life? What am I good at? Where do I feel challenged? You know, who do I consult so that I can get to know myself better if I feel I do not know myself? And you know, with that, you can be able to work on yourself. So the self-observation can really help you, and getting feedback from others. But remember, it has to start from you. It has to start from you, because it's only you who can know about yourself. Remember the earlier assignment which I gave. I told you to write who you think you are. As you are writing who you think you are, did you struggle at some point? Did you sit for a moment and you are like, for the real sense, who is Anne? And then you are like, I'm a student. You talk of your ethnicity, you know. You talk of, I'm the firstborn, I'm a single child. How did you describe yourself? Those are some of the things to help you know whether you know who you really are. Because when we talk about self-awareness, we are not really focusing more on you being a girl, you being a woman, or you being a boy child, or maybe about your age bracket. We are focusing more on you as far as the aspects we talked down there are concerned. When you become angry, how do you behave? That is self-awareness. These are the dimensions of self. When you are in a social gathering, how do you behave? Are you quick to make friends? Do you have to sit down and study the people before you even indulge in any communication? That is you, and that is who you are. As far as ethical issues are concerned, what do you value most? What do you believe in? How are your feelings? How are your emotions? How do you deal with them? Whenever I become angry, what do I do? Do I pick all the utensils in the house and I throw them on the ground? The fact that you know that when you become angry, you pick utensils and you throw them on the ground, that is self-awareness. You know that is how you behave. But then the question is, how many times will you keep buying new utensils? Because when you become angry, you break all of them. Now that is where you get to know the importance of knowing yourself. The minute you get to know that when I become angry, I fight everybody around me, you get now to work on, how do I go about my anger? How do I deal with my anger issues? How do I learn how to manage them? And I feel with that, we've come to the end of our presentation. And now I can take any questions.
Thank you so very much, Anne. That was a very, very enlightening session. You've really delved deep into self-awareness as a life skill and as a key element of emotional intelligence. I love that you've unpacked it. You have, for me, I can even further restate and say that I look at self-awareness in terms of self-confidence, in terms of being aware of your emotions, in terms of being able to understand and know your strengths and weaknesses. And I was recently watching a very interesting YouTube video, and there's one lady who said something very, very profound. And for me, it's very, it's so aligned to self-awareness. And this is what she said: never, ever underestimate the power you have when you walk into a room. Never, ever underestimate the power you have when you walk into a room. And this lady is none other than Karen Wakoli. I find this very powerful because that not underestimating the power you possess is a clear, holistic, how can I say it? Holistic coming together of self-confidence, of identification of your strengths and weaknesses, knowing who you are, knowing who you be. Because the thing about self-awareness, you exude it. You exude it, and you can never, you cannot fake it. You can fake it to some point in time, but the real thing will come out. So for me, I want to thank you once again, Anne. I'm very, very elated. I believe that people have found the session very enlightening and educative. And kindly now, I'd like to open the floor to any question or any comment.
Hey, Albert, I think there's a question on the chat by...
Yes, Metap Kaka.
Yes, yeah.
So Metap Kaka asks, is there any scale that measures self-awareness? Is there any scale that measures self-awareness?
There's an earlier question. How can we evaluate our patient's self-awareness situation?
Oh,
and then is there any scale or something like that?
Okay, so I'll just pick them. Let me just pick them first. So the first question, how can we evaluate our patient's self-awareness situation? How we can evaluate our patients? I'm not too sure what she's trying to say, but I imagine perhaps he's trying to, how can you evaluate your patients? How can you evaluate patients in as far as self-awareness is concerned? How can you evaluate an individual's patients in as far as self-awareness is concerned? That's the first question. And secondly, is there a scale that measures the levels of self-awareness?
Just a moment, Albert.
Okay.
Or maybe she meant as in a client, patient as in a client.
It's possible.
How can we evaluate our patient's self-awareness situational? Maybe he can elaborate further.
Maybe Mektap, kindly elaborate further on the question, the earlier question you had asked. But this question, Anne, is there any scale or that measures the level of self-awareness?
I think there are several scales which measure self-awareness, but now the key thing is, are they standardized? Because you can get so many scales out there, even me, I've come across them, but you need to know, are they standardized? Is this scale reliable? Is this scale valid? Because the minute you are going to use this test, maybe on yourself or maybe on others, You need to know whether it's something which is valid, something which is reliable by that standardization bit of it. So I would say they are there, but even as you go for them, be very key on looking at whether they are reliable, that is consistent and valid.
Thank you. And another question, what tools can be used to help clients become self-aware?
Yes, some of the tools which we use, especially to help clients develop self-awareness, is that tool which I just took you through down there, the Johali's Wheel. The minute you take a client through this wheel, they are able even to place different items on those wheels. You don't have to read everything, whatever they have written, but you just tell them to write. What do you think is in the open self? What do you know about yourself? And others also know about themselves. You might find that this person, if they don't have self-awareness, in their open self, they'll only have one item. And then when you go to these other widows, you find that they have so many items. So the more the client has in the open self, it means that they are highly self-aware. So you can help that client develop self-awareness by taking them through the Johali's Wheel. Basically, that is what I use.
Okay, thank you. Another follow-up question. How can someone mitigate the effect of stress during challenging periods?
How can you mitigate stress? Is it possible? I thought stress is something which we always have and we always carry it. And what we just need to know is how to manage that stress. If I may give an example, it's already past 5. Somebody may be at exactly this time, they were supposed to get in another class. The fact that we've not stopped by now, they're already being stressful. How can you mitigate that? As in, stress just happens. In most of the time, it happens out of nowhere. There are some stresses which you can even foresee that I'm going to get into this kind of stress. But most of them, it just happens. So you just need to know how to manage that stress. When it comes, you just know how to manage that stress. And when it comes to management of stress, it's something which is in you. Whenever I get that something which is negative, how do I deal with it? What do I tell myself? If it comes in a negative way, do I take the negative, all of it, 100%, and I put it inside me? Or do I take the negative and I turn it and I start seeing the positive in the negative? I hope I'm communicating.
There's another question. Okay, so this is what Eunice Samuel says. She says, sometimes the world judges us wrongly and somehow this affects our personality. You mentioned that developing self-awareness requires us to get feedback from others. Now, if you are judged wrongly, how will this help us in developing self-awareness?
There is that aspect of people judging you wrongly. And when I talked of getting feedback from people, remember feedback can either be positive or negative. For me, I don't call it negative, I call it area for development. So whenever this person gives you feedback, of course, you'll have to take it, whether positive or area for development. But when you take it, it's for you to sit down and evaluate the feedback. Is this feedback genuine? Okay, she said that I'm very high-tempered. What do I think about myself? You do an evaluation for yourself. And with that, you'll get to know whether you are really hot-tempered or not. If you come to find that you are not hot-tempered, meaning that you are given feedback which is not really who you are, that person gave you false feedback. You realizing that you've been given false feedback it's still part of self-awareness, because you know who you are and you know that you are not hot-tempered. So if that person gives you that feedback, it's for you to choose. Yes, I've been given this feedback, but this is not me, meaning I'm not going to take this. So it's all about yourself and what you tell yourself. Remember, for the feedback, you have to evaluate it. And if you really see that this is very true, that is the time now you'll go and work on it. I don't know whether I've answered your question. We can proceed, Albert.
Okay. Any other question or comment before we wind down? Yes, Lillian?
I have a question on the types of personalities. Can somebody have a combination of the four, a combination of two? Is it possible to learn them? And is it given that if you're a choleric, you remain to be a choleric, you can never change? Is it possible to undo some of them, from phlegmatic to sanguine? And how can you do that? Are they cast on stone that I'm a choleric and I cannot change?
Thank you so much for that, Lillian. I'm going to give an example with myself. As I was growing up, most of my friends knew that I'm an introvert. I remember I used to keep to myself. I had very few friends, if any. And even as I was clearing high school, most of my friends could write for me that I'm a snob. I don't like talking to people. I'm not a people's person. Yes, that was me. And it's true that that was me, because for me, it was me and my novels, my motivational books, full stop. I used to get consolation from that. When it comes to people, I used to hate issues very much. And I felt this is the way I can get rid of all these issues coming along. So I kept to my books, and those were my friends. But once I completed high school, I found myself now in the society where I have to relate with the people, whether I like it or not. And it was so funny because my career was a career of relating with people. And here is Anne, who I knew that I'm an introvert. And that was the time I really wanted to know exactly who I am so that I can fit with my profession. And I remember I did a personality test. And after the personality test, I was able to tell, this is my strengths and these are my weaknesses. And once I got the weaknesses, I asked myself, these are weaknesses which I've always had since I was a child, as far as I can remember. But now I want to work on the weaknesses, even if not all of them, to let them come to the positive side so that I can fit in the society, which is very demanding. And guess what? I did that. I looked at some areas which I could work on as far as my weaknesses are concerned, and I turned them to be positives. And I must say that that is one of the reasons why I'm here today. So what am I saying? It doesn't mean you have to stick in that one personality type. Like me, I'm a choleric stroke melancholic. Another person can be choleric sanguine. You can have two. It's not a must for you to have just one. But remember, when you do your personality type, you get to learn the areas which you feel you need to work on. Work on them so that you can fit in the society. For me, as I was doing the personality type, my thinking was, I just want to know myself. But then I realized that I do not fit so well in the society because I have so many areas which I need to develop on. And I had to work day and night so that I can work on those areas. I don't know whether I've responded to your question, Lillian.
Yes, very well. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
I also see in the chat box, there's also a request to share the presentation. Maybe in that regard, Lillian, you'll assist in that?
Yes.
Okay. Thus far, there are no other questions and comments. Mine is to thank everyone for tuning in for today's session. This is part of our program series that, once again, that's in partnership with myself, Albert Migowa, the Columbia Global Centers. And our aim is really to demystify the aspect of what emotional intelligence is, and also to align it to your day-to-day life and to the work that you're doing. In this regard, just in summation, what we have learned, we've looked at what self-awareness is, we've looked at the personality types, we looked at the Johari windows, and the whole idea is for you to be able to know yourself, to be that much better and that much more productive. Remember, in whatever that we do, self-awareness is very key. We must be attuned to ourselves. What do we tell ourselves? What voices dominate us? Is it the positive one that says, I can make it? Is it the negative one that says, I cannot make it? Because whichever voice you choose, that shall be. But I take it, everyone here will go with the positive voice that says, yes, you can do it, and therefore be more productive and more effective. At this juncture, I'd like to bring the session to a close. But before then, Anne, I'll make a kind request. Kindly put your video so people can see your face, at least.
There it is.
Yes. There is Anne Muhinja. Nice. So thank you
Yes.
also. Yes. Thank you so very much, Anne. We're looking forward to further engagement with yourself. Thank you to everyone. Please stay tuned for our next upcoming episode next month. We'll be tackling issues around self-regulation. Thank you very much. Over to you, Lillian.
Thank you so much, Albert, and that was wonderful and excellent, very insightful discussion. The audience have been active, and I can see most of them were very asking for a presentation, alluding to the fact that this presentation was very insightful for them, and we'll see what we can do so that we meet their needs. Thank you, Albert, for always being there and helping us through these sessions. Our audience, we have other sessions coming on the pipeline. This is a series. So this is the second session of the series. The first one was handled by Albert very ably, and that was on what is emotional intelligence. We introduced emotional intelligence. So today we looked at self-awareness, and Anne has done a wonderful job. And Pauline will be preparing and cooking for us the next session, and I know it will be great. There's one, we were trying to promote this session, there's one quote that I met which said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our freedom and power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and freedom. And so I thought to myself, making that wise choice and responding appropriately, that wise choice on how to respond will require self-awareness. And that is what I came to learn. I should know myself so that I can make the right choices between freedom, using my freedom and power so that I can grow in my career, in my relationships, in everything that I do. Thank you so much, Anne. That was wonderful. And to our audience, thank you so much for creating time to join us. We really appreciate it. Please do follow us on our social media channels, which Sandra has posted. She can do that again. And we are looking forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much, and bye.